Hello, I'm Azai. Welcome back to Christmas Tina. You guys might be hearing a bit of the, change in my voice, maybe just a tiny bit. Mostly because I changed my audio interface. I sold my old one and bought a cheaper one, which is technically still on the same line, but it's cheaper since I didn't need the other features of the more expensive one. It is a bit different though, so I do apologize for the sudden shift in tone or something in my voice. It's probably not that hearable if you guys are hearing with your speakers, but with headphones it's probably very noticeable. But yeah, we're back here on Christmas Tina, and let's continue. I don't remember when the last time I played this. Did I play this after I got shot with the vaccine? Or have I told you guys that I got shot with the vaccine? Let me check my calendar actually. 8/17. Okay, I think I did. I think that was when I got my first injection. And right now it's 8/23, so 23rd of August. So it's been a couple of days. I haven't played this game in quite a bit. I'm trying to remember what happened last time. I think, what's her name? That girl started helping out in the restaurant, the side cafe. Sakura? Right, Sakura. And remember how I haven't seen or how I haven't researched the voice actors in such a long time? I actually went to VNDB and looked up the voice actors for this game. The one who voiced Jing wasn't really a popular guy. He only voiced 2 other games, I believe. Or maybe just one other game. But the one who voiced freaking Kana, wow, I did not expect this. I knew that she was the one who voiced Amane from Grisaya, but what I didn't expect was that she also voiced Natsumi from Sharin no Kuni. I was actually pretty blown away. In some regards, I should have noticed, but maybe in my mind, their characters are just so different. One is meek and the other is quite foolhardy. Well, Natsume and Amane, not Natsumi and Kana. Natsumi and Kana seems similar, but Natsume and Amane's Grisaya is very, very different. Grisaya's Amane, I mean. But yeah, that actually surprised me, and I think I'm gonna be liking Amane's voice quite a bit now. Purely just because of that, my perception would be drastically changed, since I didn't know that she was voicing Natsumi before. Because I like Amane previously in Grisaya, but I didn't like her, she wasn't the very top. She was definitely maybe top 4 out of all the characters in that game. But alright, enough of my banter. 1 month later, it was the second half of September. The sky was high and blue. At times, I could see planes drawing white vapor trails into the atmosphere. The long summer grew shorter with every day, and the bright green of roadside trees was slowly beginning to wither. Fall was beginning.
あ、いらっしゃいませ。どうぞこちらのテーブルに。シューマイセットお待たせしました。
I think the one who voices, I think every girl is being voiced by very, very popular characters or very popular seiyus. I don't remember who voiced Emi, but she's also pretty popular, along with Sakura, surprisingly.
康纳，客人结账，快点。
あ、わかった。
We'd kept our sidewalk cafe open through the entire summer. Before we really knew it, we'd been working for an entire month without pause.
ジンス手伝いに来たわよ。
さくらさん、工作没事吗？
近くまで来たついでよ。差し入れもあるし。
Hopefully the sound isn't too loud. Tell me if the sound is a bit different from how it was previously. I'm trying to make it sound the same as usual, but audio stuff is kind of weird when you change devices. You can't really use the same settings.
はいはい。ひなにも後で猫缶あげるわね。
Sakura came by quite regularly as well. She didn't seem to have anything in particular in mind. She just helped with the cafe a little now and then. It was also thanks to her that our sidewalk cafe was going so well. Right, I also remember we seeing a tiny bit of flashback from Sakura about how she has, her parents got divorced, right? And it was actually pretty sad. How the mind of a child works. They run away expecting something to resolve itself, but when they come back, nothing actually gets resolved. If you think about it, even adults think that way. It's just not something you can learn easily. It's more of a mental strength.
じゃあ私レジやってるわね。
I do like how her hairstyle looks like this. It's pretty cute.
总是麻烦你，真是不好意思啊。高夫，
大丈夫よ。
Sorry.
それに今日で最後なんだし、手伝わせてよ。
I forgot that Chinese is usually a lot longer than Japanese, so that's why I clicked too soon. That's how you know, that's when I finished reading, I instantly clicked, like boom.
好嘞，那麻烦你了。
Yes, it was the last day for our sidewalk cafe. I regretted this a little, but I talked to Kana and Sakura, and it was for the best. Originally, we'd been considering only opening on Sundays and holidays, but we wouldn't get a permit for that. Besides, the cafe was open air, so when the cold came, customers would stay away anyway.
こんにちは。今日も肉まんセットですか？
ああ、一つお願いします。
I looked outside. Emmy was speaking to one of our regulars. The man in question came by quite regularly.
そういえば、このお店、今日で終わりなんだってね。
寒くなっちゃうから。
そうか。少し残念だけど、しょうがないね。
He seemed to commiserate with us having to close. I actually don't know what that means, but I guess that's sad or something? Fancy word? Well, I didn't actually enjoy cooking, so knowing it pleased some people was nice at least. The sun was starting to disappear. The days were shorter now, bringing an orange sky sooner with every day. I looked at the clock. It was 4 p.m. Our sidewalk cafe closed a little later than usual. We'd started during mid-July and operated for a good 2 months. So now it's about September? We gathered up the tables and the parasols, and the tracks went back to how they used to look. So it looks like we only have about 3 more months left until the game is over. I'm assuming that the game only takes place in 1 year. There might be an epilogue, but the game probably only takes place in the year that these guys are living in the abandoned station.
お疲れ様でした。はあ、お疲れ様でした。
We said this to nobody in particular. Damn, now I can't not imagine Natsumi's face when I hear her voice. Damn you. I can't believe, man, this is the magic of Japanese voice actors, I feel. Like, they can change their voice very, very good. And depending on who they're voicing, they really change it really good. Cleaning up felt somewhat sad, as though we were clearing away the remnants of a festival.
もうシューマイ作らなくていいんだね。
烧麦，要是大家还想吃的话，可以再做。
あ、当分シューマイも肉まんもいいかも。
还是等以后再说吧，现在肯定都腻了。
I don't think I would get tired of eating shumai. They're pretty good. Meat buns, maybe, but shumai, they're pretty good if you just eat them occasionally. Well, not like in large portions, but I could eat them every day. Like, say that one bowl of just 4 set, or 4 piece. I could eat that. 1 basket, I mean. It had been 2 months. but we'd prioritize the cafe over everything else. Most of the food we'd eaten had been leftovers and rejects from the kitchen. I had hardly studied, and after paying Sakura for the furniture, there wasn't even that much money left. However, it had been a fulfilling time in its own way.
ちょっと、何みんな黄昏てんのよ。こういう時は打ち上げでしょ？酒よ、酒。でも、この前もやったとこですよ。いいのよ、口実なんだから別に何でも。そうだ。
怎么了？
You know, even though I have very strong opinions on alcohol, I don't really mind people like Sakura who sometimes just wants to have fun and bring alcohol along with it. I just don't think it's a very good trait to always bring it up, but occasionally it's not bad. Like, I don't drink often, like not even once a month, but if someone were to ask me if I want to drink once a month, I'd be okay with it. But more than that, I think that's gonna be quite bad as a habit. I wouldn't want it personally, but once a month is okay.
よく考えたら私もうすぐ誕生日だわ。おめでとうございます。よし、これで宴会するお題目はできたわね。
She wanted to drink again. I had a feeling she'd come planning on celebrating her impending birthday with us.
というわけでジン、なんかごちそうよろしく。
是，那我就做点烧麦以外的东西。
Well, we did celebrate Emi's and Kana's birthdays, and Sakura had always helped us out. Helped us a lot. Sakura and I went out to buy groceries. Emi and Kana helped the fort back at the station. The money was in a strong box, but we couldn't leave Emi alone. And besides, we were being paid to live there.
Sakura-san, konnichiwa!
Hello, no eyes girl. Clearly an NPC.
先輩、また今日も酒ですか？
まあね。あんたらスカート短すぎだぞ。
いや、最近はこういうのも流行りだしてて。
ほーん。あんま悪さすんなよ。
じゃあ今日のギグ、行ってきまーす。
Sakura talked to girls she knew as we passed through the streets. She knew so many of them.
ねえジン、今の子たちってどう思う？
什么怎么样？
可愛いけど、頭悪そうでしょ。バカよ、バカ。
My personal thoughts is that I told you guys how I used to have some sort of superiority kind of thing, like a more arrogant way of thinking. Like, I probably would have thought that they were dumb, yes, back in the day. Now I start to think, like, who cares? Yeah, sure, they're dumb, but it's their own choice. So what?
是吧？
I probably would have looked down on them if I was how I was a couple of months, maybe a couple of months back. Not even a year ago. I don't know if I have called them stupid, but they seem superficial. They live without a worry in the world. I think I also talk about how Jing reminded me a lot of my brother. I still do think that, which is probably why I kind of like him quite a bit.
まあ実際んとこバカなんだけどさ。でも今の時代、みんながみんな浮かれてるわけでもないのよね。
She showed me the ice cream and the sunflower seeds she was carrying. She had been told to buy them.
ああ見えて、みんないろいろあるのよ。私だって、あなただってね。
是啊，是这样的吧？
The sun went down and it became dark. We could hear the grasshoppers chirping in the grass nearby. We were sitting near them, starting our celebration just as we'd done before.
お店お疲れ様でした。乾杯！乾杯！あと、さくらさんのお誕生日も。
萨克拉さん、生日快乐！
おめでとうです！
The food I'd made was somewhat more lavish than usual. Sakura and I both had a beer. Kana and Emi both had orange juice. Did this mean Sakura had turned 22? She was 2 years older than me. My birthday was in December. So for a while, she was 3 years older.
いや、めでたくないわよ。突然、どうしたんですか？
I'm actually older than Sakura. In age. That's pretty crazy if you think about it, but I don't know. She feels a lot older than she is. I feel like I'm a lot more childish in my own mindset.
むしろ私は10代のままでそこから一切たりとも年を取りたくないわ。どうして？気にしないで。ちびっこや17歳にはわからないことよ。もういい。今日は飲むわよ。あんたも付き合え。
Sakura eyed me and took a big swig from her beer. Apparently, I was expected to drink with her.
そういえばカンナ、あんた何ジュースばっか飲んでるのよ。だって私未成年だし。大丈夫大丈夫。ビールなんてジュースみたいなもんよ。ほら飲め。
I guess that's okay. It's not like super illegal. I don't know though. I don't know if it's really illegal or not if like a family member or a friend offers you a drink. You'd have to be a really stickler to the rule if you refuse just because you're underage. Or you have good principles, looking at it from a positive light.
コップに無理やりビールつかないで。
But I mean, there's nothing wrong with trying it out. I wasn't enough for her drinking. She also had her eyes set on Kana.
あのね、中学卒業したらもう社会人なのよ。ビールくらい飲めなくてどうすんのよ。そうかもだけど、ちょっとジンもなんとか言ってよ。
你指望我也没用啊。
I knew that by law she wasn't allowed to drink in Japan. However, I also felt that a working member of society should be allowed to drink beer. I did my best to answer with the Japanese I knew.
大丈夫、大丈夫。
ほら、ジンもそう言ってるでしょ。さあ飲め、今飲め、すぐ飲め。わかりましたから、ジョッキで入れるのやめてください。
You know, for someone who's been living for about 9 months now, Jing is actually quite a slow learner when it comes to Japanese. I'd have thought that he'd know a lot more words. But it was probably himself that was holding him back when he didn't want to learn the language until he started to want to learn it. So effectively, maybe he'd been learning for 3 months? I don't know. I don't exactly remember when he started to want to learn. We ended up drinking until late at night. Sakura was loud and drunk, forcing Kana to keep up with her. I wound up giving a Michael Jackson impression again, which Emmy liked. The cat came sometimes and rolled up on my lap. I never thought this would be how my working days in Japan would be spent. Perhaps these were my friends now. An awkward Michael Jackson double had made friends with 3 people and a cat. In a corner of the room hung an off-season mosquito coil. Its smell reminded me of summer nights. Sorry about that, I clicked way too fast.
みんな寝ちゃってるね。あれ？誰かいる？
ああ、お嬢ちゃん。
Oh, it's the old man. I don't trust this guy. What's he doing this late at night?
もしかして、アメちゃんくれるおじいさん？
そうそう。
Okay, he's most likely a thief.
ちょっと用事で来ただけだから、おとなしくして。そうそう。お嬢ちゃんはいい子だね。
Nostalgia. We had wasted our time working in a way. Perhaps this was part of a fundamental difference in perspectives and values. Oh boy. The next morning, it didn't take us long to notice. My head hurt a little from the drinking, but when I left the room and looked around,
保险柜不见了。
damn. Someone must have stolen it when we slept. I remembered it being there when I'd gone to the toilet before sleeping. It must have been at about 11 p.m.
喂喂，快起来，不好了！
ジン、どうかしたの？はよ。何？
Sakura had ended up crashing in the station after a night of drinking with us. Kano was still sleepy too.
听着，我们好像被盗了。
泥棒？って金庫がなくなってる。何？
我觉得是昨晚我们睡觉的时候被偷的。
全然気づかなかった。
They both looked startled. I noticed something else. Someone was missing. Someone who was supposed to be there.
艾米呢？
She's also kidnapped? Are you serious?
エミ？そういえばいない。
I mean, I guess the old man wasn't stupid enough to just let her go just because she's gonna stay quiet.
まさかあの子。
A terrible thought formed in our heads. No doubt we were all thinking the same. Robbers rarely start by planning a robbery. Most of them try to enter unopposed, and only when someone sees them, it turns into a robbery. And if a child sees them, perhaps they might decide to abduct them. Some might even kill them.
Emi!
Kana ran outside immediately. We followed her. Should we call the police? Should we look around first?
あれ？どうしたのお姉ちゃん。
Oh,
よかった。無事だった。何が？
Emmy gave us a puzzled look. She was playing with the cat, oblivious to our worries.
そういえば昨日の夜だけどね。アメちゃんのおじいさん来てたよ。アメちゃんの？
I can't believe he left the girl alone and stole the box. Does he think that he's gonna get away scot-free just because he got seen by a little girl and that she's not gonna talk about it? What? This doesn't make any sense. The Candyman was probably the man who had been a regular at our restaurant.
おじいさん、何しに来てたのかな？それでね、また昨日もアメちゃんもらったんだよ。
Emmy smiled happily. Is this gonna be one of those moral dilemmas where the guy is forced to get money for something? That's why he's stealing our money? We'll see. We'll see just what the dilemma is. If it's justified, I still don't think it's justified. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see how the story plans out or plays out. Kana and I looked at each other. We didn't have to say anything. Emmy didn't have to know. Best to leave her under the impression he was a nice man. More importantly, Emmy wasn't hurt. We left Emmy with Sakura and went out. We decided that it was probably best for her to be unaware of what happened.
保险柜里面有大约67万日元。
I had to write this down in a notebook along with some gestures to make myself understood.
そんなに入ってたんだ。
If they were like making 4,800 a day, or I don't know, I think it was like 4,800 a day, right? Then times 30 of that, that's probably about is that like 140? Let me see, well, 30, 20, 144, yeah, 144, and then times 12. So that's about 1/3 of what they would make in the year they're staying here. Wow. Well, divide it by 3, of course. So, I guess 1/6, but that's still quite a lot of money.
大约3礼拜的营业额，1分没动。
Thinking about it, maybe we should have taken it to the bank earlier. Still, the thief had planned this. He'd come to the cafe many times to see us work, then entered after we'd close up.
他の費用とか大丈夫なの？
这个你放心，没问题。
We'd already paid the rental fees for the appliances. All other expenses had also been covered already.
だったら別にいいかも。お金を取られたことはショックだったけど、もともとあの店の売り上げはなかったものだし。
That's too much of a timid way of thinking. I mean, I get where she's coming from, but does she not think we should get the money back?
话是没错。
I knew what she meant. For the most part, I was also just relieved that nothing had happened to Emmy. We had wasted our time working in a way. We'd only been open for about 2 months. So we lost most of our overall profit.
もしかしてやっぱり不満？
不，我不是这个意思。
ごめんね。ジンもお金一生懸命貯めてたのに。
I mean, it's not her fault. What would she need to apologize for the burglar? Clearly, there is someone who's at fault, and it's not her.
でもしょうがないよね。
I'd heard that phrase before. There's nothing we can do. Perhaps this was part of a fundamental difference in perspective and values. I was happy that Emmy was alright. We'd lost most of our money, and that hurt. Both of these feelings existed at the same time. I just found it difficult to move on like nothing happened.
康纳，抱歉，让我一个人待会儿。
I would probably do the same as Jing right here. He probably wanted to find a culprit by himself without trying to... Well, I don't know. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. I would act on my own, trying to find the culprit myself without trying to burden or trying to make myself known that I'm doing that stuff.
え、どうしたのジン？怒っちゃったの？
I waved amicably to reassure her and left. I wasn't all that angry, and I didn't want total silence either. When I got back to my room, I sighed. If I'd kept talking to Kana, I was afraid I might have said something mean. I opened my passbook and looked through the rows. I'd saved up about 1 million yen. It had taken 8 months. I needed another 500,000 yen. I was confident this would be enough to get into a foreign university somewhere. If I continued my job, I was just about going to make it. We just lost 670,000 yen. I would have been left with more than I think, right? 300,000 yen after splitting it with Kana. What about Sakura? She helped out. I guess she doesn't really want any of the profit. That's kind of her. It would have almost gotten me to the target already. Besides, 300,000 yen is a lot of money in and of itself. It takes years to save up such an amount in China. I sighed. That old man, I don't know what his moral justification is, but in a world like this where there's not really much pressure, I don't know though. The thing is, like, these guys actually worked hard to get that money. I know the old man probably can't work anymore, and maybe there's some underlying reason why he needs the money. But, in all honesty, is that really our problem? My mindset is that, fuck that guy. We worked hard for this money. Like, why should we care? I don't know. Like I said though, we'll see how this plays out. I sighed. But this sort of moral dilemma definitely annoys the heck out of me. I couldn't just give up on the money. There's nothing we can do. My head largely agreed, but my heart did not. I ran into Kana in the hallway. She usually brushed her teeth at around this time before going to bed. I didn't want to grumble about the money. I tried to find something else to say.
ごめんね。本当だったら、もうお金貯まってたのに。
Stop this! Man, I really hate this meek... I guess because in a way, this sort of thinking is what I used to think myself. How you keep blaming yourself about every little thing that's not really your fault. That way of thinking is really gonna cause you depression. It's bad. It's a bad way of thinking. I'm gonna say it outright. If you think this way, it's gonna lead to your downfall at some point. I'd encourage someone who has this sort of way of thinking to try to change it little by little. She apologized first. If anything, it should have been me apologizing, I thought.
啊，没事的。
Is all I said and returned to my room. I wasn't really angry about it. She didn't have to apologize to me. I was just a little frustrated. Maybe that was the best way to phrase it. But ever since that day...
早。
おはよう。
那我先走了。
Things were awkward between us. We weren't fighting and we weren't on bad terms. There just seemed to be a gulf between us. In many ways, we saw eye to eye. But in other ways, I realized there was a difference in values and outlook that came from having grown up somewhere else. That felt a little sad to me. If you ask a child to name the greatest man in history, some top contenders would be Gandhi, Edison, Lenin, or maybe Stalin. A child? I'd say they're just gonna name their dad. I doubt a child could know these, you know, like popular names. I mean, depends on what age they're at. Like 7-year-old probably wouldn't know these names. Maybe some children would nominate their homeroom teacher. Maybe. I would have named my father. Maybe if I was in my 2nd grade, I would name my father too, but there was a rift with me and my father after my mom died, so... Like I said, depends on at what age you're saying this at, or you're asking this at. But I probably would have named my father too if I was younger than 7. I was still a child, barely old enough to understand the world around him, and had just entered grade school. My father was a lecturer at a university. It was a small university out in the countryside, but he was widely respected for his lessons. He could be a little too austere and intellectual, but to me, was a towering, unparalleled existence. I wanted to be exactly like him. He had 2 things he often said.
小然，快去学习。
He was a lecturer, so that was obvious. And another,
要有目标，有梦想。
was that. He said those things again and again. We moved to Guangzhou when I was 6. I didn't know the other children there, but I didn't feel lonely. I just thought they were idiots who never studied. I was happy not being too close to them. I didn't grow up this way though. I actually never studied myself when I was in school. Even in college, I barely studied, to be fair. I actually have a pretty good memory. So that's why I can, just read pretty fast and memorize pretty fast. I never got anything but top grades in grade school. Grade school, I'd say me too, but then I moved to a prestigious middle school and high school. That was when I was really shocked. Since back when I was still in grade school, I had 90s, 100s. Those were common scores in my school. But the standard is so much different when you're in a prestigious school that during my first math test, I got a 30, and that really made me think like, wow, I'm shit. So yeah. I was really put in my place when I went to a prestigious school. My father had been the same as a child, I think. So he usually didn't praise me for it. Only very rarely.
这是名叫黑格尔的人提出的观点。
The hell is Hegel? He often spoke to me in the evening before I went to bed. He could explain even difficult topics in a way a child could understand. He tried to explain Marx's Das Kapital to me as well. Are you serious? When you were a kid? It wasn't what we learned in school. It was more appropriate for a high school class, I think. In the end, I didn't really understand. Economics isn't a particularly interesting topic for a child. Still, I nodded and listened with great vigor.
是吗？在这年纪能听懂这些东西的，也就你了。
He praised me. His praise came to so seldom that it made me happy. Not exactly a good dad, are you? The down to the countryside movement was gathering steam at the time. Young people in the cities had to drop out of classes and go into the countryside to work as farmers. My father looked at this and said,
一群蠢货。
Nothing more than that. I didn't understand at the time, of course. I respected my father, the university lecturer. But I'd also been told that physical labor commanded respect. One day, things changed.
小然，快把行李收拾好。
He was as curt as always, but his expression was dejected. Were we moving? I gathered my belongings. I was a little disappointed that I didn't have a chance to place first in the next exam. A few days later, my father and I arrived in the middle of nowhere. Plots had been cleared in the mountains. There was a small, dingy building there, and a few more buildings like it nearby. It was the tiniest of villages. Was this our new house? It was just a room with a roof. My father went into the building. I didn't know what to say. I just followed him inside. It was dark. There was no light switch. There was no electricity either. Naturally, there was no great school nearby. There certainly wasn't one within walking distance. I was worried about something else too. Which university was my father going to work at? He did not answer this question. He remained quiet and scanned the horizon. My father began to till the fields outside after that. He wielded a hoe for the first time, stumbling through the field from dawn till dusk. He didn't talk about university again. He no longer spoke of economic theory in the evening. Instead, he started to drink and grumble. I didn't know what he was talking about. When I looked at him, the father I had revered was gone. I understand things better now. He'd been demoted in the midst of the Cultural Revolution. About 2 years passed. If I'd gone to school, I would have been in 3rd or 4th grade by then. Instead, I was in the mountains. My grades had been the best in the school, and now I wasn't going there. I spent my time with my father, who only ever tilled the field, drank, and slept. I don't know what to think about that flashback. Well, the thing is, I sort of understand how the dad feels. Like, I understand he was trying to teach the kid very well about having a study and having a dream. That was a really good lesson. But the thing is, if your country expects you or demands you to do something, especially China back in the day, when they were still very, very much communist, you either do what they say or you're gone the next day. I understood why Zhang told me to find another job here. This was Tokyo and only he wasn't laughing. Late autumn. Two weeks later, the wind was beginning to feel chilly.
冷たかった。
I was washing my face on the platform. The cold water did a good job of waking me up.
最近、めっきり寒くなってきたかも。
We didn't have to switch on the heater yet, but probably would have to soon. Especially late at night and in the early mornings. I could feel winter approaching. I had a feeling he and I weren't talking much. We weren't fighting. There just seemed to be a distance now. He was probably still thinking about the burglar. I regretted the loss of the money too. But it made me sad that this had put such a gulf between us. I was pondering this when...
おはよう。今日もいい天気だね。
おはようございます。
When I looked up, the man who'd been here before was there. He was the boss of the company which had hired us.
社長、今日はどうしましたか？
こうで構わんよ。今日は君に用事があってきた。
私？
ああ、よかったらこれに行かないか。
He handed me a ticket. It seemed to be an invitation to a party.
でも、どうして私に？
いや、あいつが嫌かったからハマってさ。
He was probably talking about Sakura. Yes, I thought. This did not seem like something Sakura would enjoy.
ああ、ヒールや服も持ってきたから好きなの使ってくれ。
ですけど。
知り合いは多い方が便利だぞ。次の仕事先を探すためにもな。じゃあ明日できれば行ってこいよ。
ちょっと。
He left without heeding my protests. Hearing him talk about my next job reminded me that I only had 2 months left on this one. It was oddly helpful coming from my employer. Was he actually being nice to me? I looked at the invitation, then at the dresses and high heels, and thought about everything.
早啊，气温变凉了。
ちょっと。
怎么了？
He gave me a puzzled look. We hadn't talked for a while, so I hesitated whether to talk to him. But if I decided to go to the party, I'd be gone from the premises for a while. I had to tell him.
被邀请参加宴会？
Using gestures, I managed to get the gist of it across.
社長じゃなくて、コウさんから。
这还真是稀罕。
できれば行く方がいいって。
It seemed a little grandiose. Grandiose? Am I saying that correctly? I know what it means, but I don't know how it's actually said, since it's not a very common word people say. With respect to part-time jobs. Grandiose? Maybe? I don't know. But if I could find a new employer there, that would be good.
那你打算去吗？
まだ考えてる。パーティーか。
I'd seen them on TV. The parties in Tokyo were probably amazing. I was kind of curious. To someone like me who'd been wearing a tracksuit most of the time, it was a place of dreams. The sky was beginning to darken. After ruminating on it for a day, I decided to go to the party. Such gatherings were popular, and I had a feeling I could find another job there. I realized that even after a year in Tokyo, I only knew Sakura and Jing. I had to stop being so introverted. I had to do my best, I decided.
ちょっと照れくさいね。
I feel like this scene is quite a jump from the flashback that we had of Jing. It feels a little too happy, but I guess they just wanted to show you Jing's past before trying to ease in on something later on, maybe. I blushed at the sight of myself in the party dress. I'd never worn something with bare shoulders before.
お姉ちゃんすごいアイドルみたい。もう何言ってるのよ。あって、うわっ
High heels. I never worn them. Not even court shoes. I either worn sneakers or leather shoes. These were far beyond what I was used to. It was hard for me to walk. I swayed quite a bit.
それじゃあ、ちょっと行ってくるわね。あ、ごちそうあったら、お土産に持って帰ってね。え？お持ち帰りってできるのかな？タッパー持っていく？
That's actually super common in Chinese culture. If you're going to a party, usually people would bring Tupperware. Yeah, it's super common.
一応持っていく。
I don't know how common that is in other cultures, but for Chinese people, that's super common. I put 2 small bowls into my handbag. I never gone to a real party before. I had no idea what was normal.
カナ。
やっぱりちょっと行ってくる。
这样，那我帮你记下公事表吧。
9時には終わるみたいだし。
I said and tried to hurry towards the exit.
喂，你没事吧？
大丈夫。
I stumbled with the high heels on.
じゃあ行ってくるね。
I always find it weird how like girls really like high heels, considering how they're so uncomfortable. I mean, my sister also don't like them, but she's kind of a different. She has a different mindset. She's a lot more tomboyish. There you go.
路上小心啊。
But I just don't get how women fashion works. Then again, I also don't know how guy fashion works.
ありがとう。うわ！
感觉好危险啊。
He gave me a worried look. I waved him goodbye and left the station building behind. I walked through the city at dusk. It was 6 o'clock. The party was supposed to start at 7. Shinjuku, where the party was, wasn't far, I'd been told. I could probably reach it in time. But with the high heels, I wasn't so sure. I was a little worried.
もったいないけど、タクシーに乗ろうかな。
A lot of people were already waiting for a taxi near the station though. I didn't have the street smarts to hail a cab so easily.
あらカナ、何その格好。 らさん。ははん。さてはパーティーに行く気ね。うん。あんたその手のことに興味ないと思ってたけど、やるわね。
Sakura smiled at me, perhaps uncertain what to say.
それより、新宿までタクシーに乗りたいのだけど。やめた方がいいわ。今の時間、白タクも空いてないし、渋滞するから。やっぱりそうなんだ。電車でもいいけど、歩いても大差ないかな。
I don't know how the traffic is in Japan back in the back in the 80s. When I was there like 2 years ago, it was really good. Like there's barely any cars on the street. When I go there, like I said, I don't know if I've ever said this on this video, but I will bring my bike if I ever go to Japan again and just use my bike to travel around. When I went there, I wasn't really fit. I was mostly fat. So after a couple of steps, I would be really tired. Well, not a couple of steps, I was exaggerating, but you know, like after a minute of walking, I would be really tired. But I'm pretty fit now, so I feel like I don't need the train anymore.
明治神宮を抜ければ30分かからないわよ。それじゃ。そっか。思ったより近かったかも。
I still have more than an hour, even with the high heels. I walked towards Meiji Shrine in Shinjuku, as she had said. I think today I'm just gonna record one video, since it is pretty late. I had to bike super late today since I was doing something else during the afternoon. Meiji Shrine was dark already. It's actually almost 60 minutes right now. Thinking about it, I'd never been that close to it before. I like the stone paving and the feel of the place, but it was difficult to walk through. I could barely pay attention to its beauty. Besides, my clothes felt wrong. A party dress just wasn't appropriate for this shrine. The people I passed were staring at me. I quickened my step. I knew it wasn't a good idea to walk so quickly, but it was too late. Naturally, I stumbled on a stone pavement. Careful. I got back up almost immediately, ashamed of my accident. I brushed away the little stones on my clothes.
どうしよう。ヒールが折れちゃった。
This is why I feel like high heels are so stupid. I guess girls want to be taller or something, that's why they wear heels. I mean, I'm a short guy, so I can sort of understand that I would want a taller... I don't know what you call those, like... I don't know what to call those. Heels, I guess? I guess it's the same for guys. A bigger heel, a taller heel. But I wouldn't want it to be that steep. That would just hurt. Barely 10 minutes had passed. I wasn't even halfway there, based on Sakura's estimate. From inside the shrine, I couldn't even tell which way the station was. Maybe the closest station was the way back to Harajuku. Maybe another station was closer. There were no taxis, of course.
もう行くのやめようかな。
I thought about it for a moment. I didn't even want to go all that badly. Still, the boss had gone to so much trouble. He'd even given me clothes for the party. Why not just break the other heel so make it a flat shoes? It was about 6:30 and the sun had disappeared entirely. Eventually, I made it through Meiji Shrine and came out in front of Yoyogi Station. I could see a lot of people on the way home from work or school. A road led from there to Shinjuku. I tried walking there with a broken heel, but it took too long.
あの子、ちょっと見てよ。
嘘。裸足で歩いてる。
I could hear people talking about me, but I ignored them. In front of the station, I looked at the clock. It was 6:50. I wasn't going to make it. I took off the other shoe as well and ran.
しんど。
Man, she's weird. So you're telling me she was only like she was using only like You know, like the other foot was barefoot and the other had heels on. That's so stupid. Like, she wouldn't, like, this text wouldn't be here if she wasn't doing it that way before. That's so weird. Why not just go barefoot from the start? Or like I said, just break off the heels, since the other one is already broken. I ran past Shinjuku's tall and largely dark office buildings. I tried to run as quickly as I could, but my feet began to hurt. It was my first time running again. Every time I play or we have the perspective of Kana, I always have a dissociative way of thinking with Kana. Well, it's more on the same line when I am playing as Jing or with on Jing's perspective. I don't know, it's because I'm a guy or it's because I'm just similar to Jing in my way of thinking, in my perspective. I don't know. It could be gender-based, but it could not be, I don't know. Workers on their way home stared at me. I was really afraid of broken glass on the road. I looked at my watch. I had 1 minute to go. I mean, they probably don't care if you're, 5 minutes late? Depends on what type of party it is, I guess. I steadied my breathing and put my high heels back on. One of them was broken and I was swaying a little, but there was nothing I could do. I handed in my invitation at the entrance and went inside. That was the first thing I said. It looked like a wedding. There were a lot of people there too. Perhaps 30 or so. That's not a lot, trust me. If you go to a Chinese wedding, there'd be like 100 people or something. Everyone was young and talking among themselves. It looked a little like a marriage interview, but not really. Despite not being a nightclub, people were dancing in the back. Apparently, I could just eat and drink what I liked. But it didn't seem like they would take well to me filling up my Tupperware. After I'd gone to so much trouble to arrive on time, I stood there alone and clueless.
ねえ彼女、一人？
Is that a champagne tower, I thought? It was the first time I'd seen one. How did they keep it from spilling?
もしかして聞こえなかったのかな？彼女？
私？
もしかして飲み物何かいる？
はい、すみません。
はい、スクリュードライバーでよかったかな？どうぞ。
Screw? I had no idea what this was, but I drank it anyway. Well, it was alcohol. I only realized after drinking a fair amount. It had looked like juice to me.
おう、誰よその子、紹介してよ。
もう、あなたたち、何ナンパしてんのよ。
People began to surround me. I had no idea what was going on. I had a feeling the brands they were wearing were expensive.
俺たち、青山の4年なんだ。あ、こいつは精神だけど。
ちょっと、こいつとか言わないでよね。
What does that even mean? Like, where the hell? What do you mean 4 years? Is that... Like I said, I don't know the curriculum in Japan, but... Would you still be in high school if you were in this sort of party? I highly doubt it.
はい、名刺。こっちの番号がムーバで、これがポケベル。
私のもあげるわ。内定先のをもう作ったから。
I received business cards with names and titles I didn't understand. Being in 4th year meant they were university students, I thought, but they already had business cards. I guess when you're in the party of the rich, it's different. More people talked to me, mostly about the university they were attending, the jobs they had informally secured. and how rich their parents were. Yeah, I guess this is a sort of meetup for the rich to trade connections. The first thing they all asked was which university I was going to. Were my parents big shots in a company somewhere, or even CEOs? Where did I live? What car did I drive? Many bragged about driving foreign cars. Perhaps in these circles, your job title was more important than your name. All of them seemed to come from affluent families. I understood why Zhang told me to find another job here.
ところで君はどこの大学？
大学生じゃないですね。
ん？もしかして高校生？
不良ね。こんなとこ出入りして。
そうじゃなくて、社会人です。
それって高卒ってこと？
いえ、高校行ってなくて。
それってさ、まさか中卒ってこと？
はい。
It became uncomfortably quiet. They maintained an awkward silence. Perhaps I should have just made something up, I thought. I was really bad at lying, though. I wasn't good at talking to others to begin with, especially to older people I'd never met before. I'm actually the other way around. I'm actually pretty good at talking to other people, compared to people my age. I desperately hoped someone would break the awkward silence and talk to me.
いやいやいや、あなた、どこかのお嬢様でしょ？
はい。
たまにいるのよ。旧家のお嬢様は学校でなく、家庭教師なのよ。
Whatever, girl. Believe what you want.
ああ、そういえば俺も聞いたことあるな。
なんだよ、びっくりさせんなよ。
Somehow, the three of them convinced themselves of this. Apparently, I was being taken for the daughter of an old aristocratic family. It was hard to get my position in society more wrong, but I didn't deny it. I didn't think I could properly explain myself, and even if I tried, I had a feeling they would scorn me. So instead, I quietly listened to their proud stories of university and their parents. But I'd come for something else. There was a reason I was there.
一つだけ質問があるんですけど。
どうしたのカンナちゃん？
どこかいいアルバイトないかなって。
もしかして探しているの？
はい。来年から行きたいんです。
知ってるとこは多いけどさ、お嬢様におすすめできるところとなると。
ちょっと思いつかないわね。
いえ、本当にどこでもいいんです。
だったらさ、ディスコのお立ち台のバイトは？カンナちゃん可愛いからいけるよ。
ダメよ。ああいうのは高卒か、体だけの貧乏人の仕事よ。
それもそうか。
They laughed together. They probably didn't want to be condescending, but it left a bad taste in my mouth. I shouldn't have come, I thought. On the way, I thought about going back, but I'd felt bad for Zhang, and made my way to the party. After this, I didn't feel like talking again. I nodded and gestured my way through the conversation, sipping on my screw something, waiting for time to pass. Eventually, the party wound down and everyone went outside. Well, that was pretty much zero. You know, she probably didn't get a job. It's you know, time wasted, I guess. But I guess she gets money from Zhang for attending the party. Maybe? Or maybe that was the chance to get another job. That was like the pay. Who knows? I let myself be swept out with them.
カンナちゃん、どこ行くの？二次会のディスコ行くよ。
ディスコ？
さっきみんなで話してたじゃん。
Thinking about it, yes, the topic had come up. But I was a little drunk, and it was hard to remember.
ごめんなさい。早く帰らないと。
大丈夫だって。帰りは車で送ってってあげるから。
そうそう。こいつのアッシー、新車買ったんだよな。
まあね。BM の6よ。
マジでお前何年ローンで買わせたんだよ。
いいえ、バカ代ではこれぐらい努力してくれないとね。カンナちゃん可愛いから、こんな足捕まえるの簡単よ。
女子怖えな。
They laughed again and went outside. The others around me were laughing as well. And I was laughing with them, I realized. No doubt it was an awkward laugh, but it was a laugh. I didn't... Oh, sorry. I right-click. I didn't like having to do that, but I did anyway.
喂，我来接你了。
I was wondering why we saw Jing with a bike. I thought he was actually gonna make us ride with him to the party, but it looks like it's to go back. I wonder who lent him the bike though. Jing? Why was he there? Jing had shown up on a bicycle. Wherever he had gotten it, the bike was an absolute wreck.
なんだこいつ。
我有点担心，就过来了。借了一辆自行车，虽然有点破。
I had no idea what he was saying. Sitting on his bicycle and trying to catch his breath.
もしかして、カンナちゃんの知り合い？
まさか、こんな変な自転車野郎と知り合いなの？だよな、こいつ変な外人みたいだし。
For some reason, I said I didn't know him, even though he'd come to take me home. He must have been worried about me not being used to the high heels.
それよりアッシーも呼んだし、二次会に行きましょう。
今日はどこ行く？本気でいい？
カンナちゃんもいるんだし、麻布でしょ？
喂，怎么了？不走吗？艾米还在家呢。
なんだよお前。何言ってるかわからねえよ。
つうかさ、何よそのチャリは。
中国人じゃね？そのチャリで国へ帰れや。
海あるのにリーム。
いやいや、中国人なら可能かもしれないぞ。
They continued to verbally abuse Jing. He took it without saying anything. Most likely he didn't even know what they were... They didn't even know they were insulting him. His Japanese wasn't nearly good enough to understand it. I could hear them laughing at him around me. I was probably laughing too. An awkward, unnatural laugh, with eyes downcast. It wasn't funny or interesting, but I was laughing. Bright neon lights shone down from the tall buildings. People rushing past us on the sidewalk. Taxis lined up on the street. Alcohol I wasn't used to, expensive cars, nightclubs, merry laughter all around. This was Tokyo, and only he wasn't laughing. He wanted to go home and stared at me, visibly worried.
自転車で悪いか。
ん？カンナちゃん、何か言った？
自転車で悪いかって言ったんだよ。
I threw the high heels away. I flipped. I'm not sure why. I was incredibly angry.
中卒！バカにすんな！
I ignored their stunned reaction and continued.
何が BM だよ。どれだけ偉いのよ。ジン、カロ。
哦，但是你的鞋……
いいのよ。そうだ。
I went back into the building where the party had taken place. I went straight for the table with the food. I crammed as much as possible into the Tupperware. The employees only looked at me in surprise. It felt very good. I wasn't angry at them. Not at the BM something, them thinking I was rich, nor them making fun of Jing and people with middle school degrees. I wasn't angry because I was a little drunk either. I was angry I pretended to be someone I wasn't in front of Jing. I wanted to make up for having laughed alongside them. I was angry at myself for having almost gotten swept up by something I didn't really understand. I want to know what happened next, but I feel like we're already going a bit overtime. It's an hour or 10 minutes, so I think I'm going to call it here. What Kana's experiencing, though, is quite well, not in society. In school, we call it peer pressure. I could understand what she was feeling, especially when I was younger. Like I said, I used to go to a prestigious school, and knowing it wasn't really a prestigious school that showed off rich kids, thankfully. Like, for the most part, there were rich people, but they weren't really show-off people. So I have to say that in terms of how the parents are teaching their kids, they teach them with modesty. So that was something I really respect from the people who attended school. They didn't really flaunt their money and whatnot. But it was really easy to flaunt something else that wasn't money there. Like, your education. Mostly just how smart you are and whatnot. But yeah, it's a different class of its own. Like, I never really got peer pressured into thinking that I'm dumb. Because my grades, while they were bad the first time, they steadily, progressively got better. Because I wasn't really a dumb kid. Like, I know I'm not dumb. I could study pretty easily if I wanted to. And I could get scores pretty easily myself. But yeah, I understand what Kana's going through back then. I don't think it's a common thing nowadays for me. But to some people, even when they reach adulthood, this sort of thing might still happen. And I think they made it pretty well, or they illustrated it pretty well right there. But I'm going to call it an episode right here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Tomorrow might be the last time I played this, if what I said is true, that it's going to be 25 chapters. I'm going to be ending it right here. No short break, no nothing. I'm going to eat my ice cream and then go to bed. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I will see you guys next time. See ya.